going to bring in our meteorologist, Michaela Smith. Michaela is going to talk about daylight saving time and how many of us are getting, or all of us except for Arizona, are getting an extra hour of sleep this weekend. Michaela, I will pass it off to you. Tell us what we can expect this weekend and all the way through December as the days get shorter.
Oh yeah, things are kind of excited. I at least am very excited about the fact that we get that extra hour. If anyone feels like they haven't been able to catch up recently, this weekend is for you. But this is going to happen Saturday night going into Sunday, so we are going to fall back. That's what a lot of people say when daylight saving time comes to an end, because as you mentioned earlier, Taylor, those sunrises are earlier in the morning, but so are those sunsets in the evening. So if you're someone like Taylor, who is more of a night owl, this is maybe not the most ideal time of year.
This is a tough time of year for me, I'm not gonna lie.
I'm a morning person, so I like that the sun is up earlier when I'm driving into work and doing other things. I like to get to enjoy the sunrise. So I'm excited, but I can understand, for people who are more of a night owl, those 5 o'clock sunsets or, 4 o'clock sunsets in some places, they're early.
I walk out of work and it's already dark outside. I haven't seen the sunshine all day. I'm glad that we have a window in our office. I can say that. I'm very grateful for that. But I'll let you talk about daylight saving time. I'll let you take it away.
Absolutely. So daylight saving time comes to an end this Sunday, November 2nd. You're going to turn those clocks back right at 2 a.m. So when it hits 2 a.m., if you're up somehow, night owl like Taylor, you'll actually see it revert back to 1 o'clock. So there's that extra hour that you're going to have to sleep. And this is always a great time of year to remind yourself to test those smoke alarms. So if you do have, those actually working in your house and they're not beeping or other things, I know in my house some of them are actually turned off, this is when you want to make sure that they're good. The batteries are checked, that they actually do work, so that if you were to have an emergency, it's just a good reminder twice a year to always check on those. And sometimes you can call your local fire department too if you're wondering about your smoke alarm, if it maybe is working or not, and they'll come actually out to your house. So you're going to see that sun sets a little bit earlier, sunrises are going to be earlier, and there's what we talked about earlier. So right at 2 a.m., you're going to see that clock jump back to 1 a.m. I want to show you just kind of these monthly daylight changes though, as we've been going, seeing the daylight increasing as we were in the springtime, a lot of pluses on here. Then you get closer to summer and we have that summer solstice. You don't really see a big change. Since the summer solstice, every day, if you didn't notice, you were actually losing quite a bit of daylight. Here's July's numbers, August's numbers, September, you really see a big change. Check out areas to the north closer to Canada. You lost 100 minutes of daylight just in September. Now here we are in October, pretty similar actually. So for us in here in Oklahoma, sitting at about 60 minutes, so around an hour that we lost just from the start of October to now. But you can see again, as you go more towards the north, it's a pretty drastic change in September and October. Once we go into next month, so starting tomorrow with November 1st, you're still going to lose some daylight. Areas to the north closer to Canada, you're still over an hour of daylight lost. Here in the plains, 50 to 40 minutes. Further down to the south you go and get closer to the equator, you're not losing as much time, but still about 30 minutes. Then you get to December and you really don't see a change. Very similar to the summertime, it's because we get to that solstice, but this one will be the winter solstice. So in December, areas to the north, you may lose right around 10 minutes. Really, for most of us in the US, it's a less than 10-minute loss that we're talking about as we go into December, because we get to that winter solstice. So obviously, the Earth is constantly going around the sun. And that gives us our different seasons. You have the winter solstice that's coming up. Right now, we just had the autumnal equinox, and then we're right in between moving towards the winter solstice. After that, we'll start heading towards the vernal equinox, which is start of spring. And then that summer solstice is complete opposite for us here in the winter. But with the winter solstice, it is the shortest day of the year. So the winter solstice officially will be on December 21st this year at 9:03 a.m. Central Time. So depending on where you're located, you can add or maybe subtract a few hours. And the word solstice comes from sol, obviously being sun, and then cistern, which is to stand still. So it's going to be where that sun location is. It gives us the first official day of winter, but it happens for us here in the northern hemisphere as the first official day of winter because the North Pole is actually tilted the furthest away from the sun that it possibly could be. But it's the opposite if you're in the southern hemisphere. It's your first day of summer because you're going to be a little bit closer to the sun. And then it's flipped. In summer, we're closer to the sun at that point in time, and that's when they start their winter. So it's the shortest day of the year. Here in kind of the mid-US, that means your day is going to be about 9 hours and 45 minutes. You're losing about 7 hours of daylight compared to summertime. It's a big change, seeing that daylight hours. And then days gradually will start to get longer though once we get to the winter solstice, because again, that's the shortest day of the year. So then every day after that, we start to add hours back in as we get a little bit closer to summertime, which is pretty exciting, to know about. So Taylor, I am excited that we are gaining our hour, but that also we're getting closer to that shortest day of the year, now that we're almost in November. We're almost there, which means our daylight starts to come back at that point. So for people who enjoy more sunshine, you don't have that much further to go before it's officially the shortest day of the year, and then we just get to start seeing the pluses back. Each and every day we get a little bit more.
That's an exciting time for me because I get, those later sunsets. I get to be outside a little bit more, but then it's still cold outside, so you're like in February, oh, it's a 6 o'clock sunset, but I don't want to go enjoy it because it's freezing out there. I do have to tell a funny story about daylight saving time. So Michaela and I both used to work the early morning shift back at a news station. And I woke up one time for my 2 o'clock alarm, or 1:30 alarm, and to be there at 2. And I had to think to myself, is this the first 1:30 or the second 1:30? I was like, what time is it?
Am I late to work right now, or am I really early?
It was always so confusing to work that shift because I was like, I truly don't know what time it is, and you kind of lose an hour in there.
But then it's fun too if you're working that shift because you get to enjoy that first 6 a.m. sunrise, and it's like you're there, you're already up in the morning, and you get to watch the sun come up, and everybody else is still probably sleeping.
Yeah.
At least you get to see the first one.
I like that mentality. That's very optimistic.
You get the first. I hand this back to you, Taylor.
Yes, thank you for joining us today.